Yeah, today I definitely want to go through the state of crypto because this report is pretty new. It was published on 17th. So um, I just got my hand on it today. I downloaded it, thought in this meeting, I'll go through it. Even if the meeting wasn't there, I was planning to go through this because I want to spend 1 hour just reading about what's happening on the crypto market. So
Okay,
if you're on, so let's go through it together. So,
absolutely.
all right, so this is
And just a head warning, I'm going to be in and out, so don't be too surprised if you ask me a question and I'm not there.
no worries. And yeah, do ask questions if anything seems out of place.
Sure.
All right, so let's go through state of crypto 2022. A16z is Andreessen Horowitz venture capital company, pretty big in VC space. Started by Mark Andreessen, the founder of Netscape Navigator. Now I'm talking about, my age. So, but I've used that.
Yes, but do you use AOL CDs with 100 hours of free time as a coaster?
Yeah, so I've heard about AOL I wasn't in US at that point of a time, so
Okay.
I didn't have an experience to use it. But yeah, I've heard about AOLs, CompuServe. I've lived through those dial-up connections with the modems. Yeah, but nowadays A16Z is very focused and investing a lot on the crypto or Web3 economy. So it'll be interesting to see what their latest report has to say about state of crypto.
Absolutely.
All right. So first they talk about what is Web3. The first era of modern internet, 1990 to 2005, mostly sending emails, texts, was about open protocols that were decentralized and community-driven, HTTPs, SMTP for mailing. Second era of internet, 2005 to 2020, about siloed centralized services. Welcome Facebook, Google's. We are now beginning the third era, which many call Web3, combines decentralized community governed ethos for the first era. Nothing surprising here. So why Web3 matters? The internet, as we know, it is flawed. There's been a discussions happening in almost every country to rein in the powers of the big internet companies or big conglomerates. They control too much power. After friendly beginnings, Web2 companies have become more extractive and less cooperative. We have seen this on the rent that Apple extracts 30% for being on App Store, or Google does same case for being on their Play Store. If you're on Facebook take most of the chunk. So then that's what it refers to. Web3 gives people property rights, the ability to own a piece of internet. Web1 was read only. Web2 was read and write. Yeah, we all started posting our pictures, videos. Web3 is read, write, own. Again, I think this is nothing new. We have seen this corollary multiple times in different shapes and forms. Web3 aligns network participants to work together towards a common goal. The common goal is the growth of the network, because if the network grows, all the participants or the stakeholders, they benefit. Unlike in Web 2, wherein all the content on Facebook is coming from users, but users don't benefit. Investors benefit the most. Builders benefit. Builders means the Facebook or the people who build the apps, they benefit a lot. Creators are the content generators, they don't benefit as much. That is why I want to focus on being investor in Web 2. Web 3, using the tokenized economy, there's a potential for all the participants to grow along the network. Okay, more content around Web 3, little other different representation on Web 3, talking about centralized government to corporations to resilient, equitable, and participatory. Okay. Oh, we have one more person. So we got James. And hey, James, how are you?
Hey, pretty good. How about you?
Good, good. Long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So Morris and I, we were talking before we joined. The participation or the interest is also highly correlated with what's happening on the crypto prices. So when it's crypto winter, people don't want to learn about it. But the most of the innovations happen when there is winter.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the bear markets, just build. So anyway, we just started going through the new State of Crypto report from Andreessen Horowitz, published 2 days ago. And we can talk about anything else if there is more interest. So next, it talks about cycles of innovation. Interesting. And this is what exactly it is. Everything starts with the price in crypto. If the price goes high, it generates more interest, more people enter into the ecosystem, new ideas, more startups and projects get funded. We have seen this I think in every cycle of crypto. And it is also evident in terms of the market cap, developer activity, startup activity, pretty nicely correlate with crypto, except the social media activity started to pick up after 2020 when the institutional investors started to come in. We also saw CNBC's, Bloomberg's, Yahoo Finance of the world started talking about Bitcoin. Their anchors started to learn about Web3. So the cycles are very chaotic, but they all have an underlying order. If we just expand our horizon over multiple years, the result is consistent long-term growth driven by feedback loop between interest and innovation. What next they talk about is layer 1, which is blockchains are computers composed of nodes, agree, different nodes, consensus mechanism. Web3 is a multi-chain. Developers have many options when it comes to be building on blockchain. Ethereum, Solana has even more active addresses than Ethereum. Polygon, again, is a scaling solution side chain for Ethereum, Binance, Avalanche, Phantom, and then around daily transactions. While other smart contract platforms rival Ethereum in users and usage, which we do see, number of transactions on Solana are way more than what we are seeing in Ethereum. But the demand for the block space is unmatched when it comes to Ethereum. Means everyone, they still want to build their solutions on Ethereum, irrespective of the fact that Ethereum is slower. Ethereum has fewer users than some of the other blockchains. I think the only driving factor is what was very evident in terms of what happened to the Terra blockchain. Right? Could happen to any of these blockchain. I think Polygon is a little different because it's built, it works on the side of Ethereum, but anything could happen to same Solana, Avalanche. We never know when these blockchains will be shut down. So people who really are in this industry knows the value of Ethereum. People who come in this industry for some quick gains on their tokens probably talk a lot more about, hey, what's happening on Solana, what's happening on Luna, which actually blew up, black eye on crypto ecosystem. So, but I think developers know which is the most stable one, which is Ethereum. This is very interesting to see. I think I should send this to folks who will sometimes tell me, why not Solana? Why don't you buy Solana? This is one reason.
Hey, go back to that for a second, Vivek. So, you know, by what you've presented so far, it seems like there are obviously many cryptocurrencies out there, but you would think that the Web3 cryptos, the more advanced ones, would overshadow and outgrow the others, and the others should be fading away. But it seems like they all go up and down about the same from a market perspective. Is that what you're saying?
Well, so first of all, every crypto is considered as a participant in Web3, right?
Everyone, okay.
Okay, so now from here, what we see is now the amount that is represented is the transaction fee that users have to pay. So whenever you build anything on any of the blockchains, you have to pay a gas fee for any transaction, right? So I build a smart contract for a loan, and then if as a user, if someone comes to take a loan, they also have to pay a transaction fee, right? Now, Ethereum blockchain, 7 days average, it's $15 million worth of fee is being paid on Ethereum to have your transactions done on Ethereum blockchain. It means there's still a demand, users still demand, developers as well as the serious players still demand that our solution should be based on Ethereum, because it looks like that's the one which is going to be stable and be around. Right? Now imagine
when you say more advanced, what do you mean by more advanced? Sorry, I was just responding to Morris's question.
So when I say more advanced,
oh, I mean Morris asked a question like with these more advanced Web3 blockchain projects, how come the older or the less advanced chains still have value? I'm just wondering what you mean by advanced.
I'm sorry, hold on for a second.
No worries. Yeah, we'll come to that question. Yeah, okay. Thanks. I think Maurice had a question on what happening to a lot of other cryptos which go up and down along with the market, as you see these going up and down.
Yeah, I'm just curious because sometimes I hear that question quite a bit. Like they always say, hey, with these newer chains coming out with and they're like more advanced and stuff like that. I'm just wondering how, because a lot of times when they say more advanced, I think they're thinking faster and cheaper.
That's the only thing I've heard from all other non-Ethereum chains.
Yeah, they think
they're faster and cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, faster and cheaper must be better, right? That's usually the response I get. But there is a reason why, I don't for example, like if you have a lot of money, I mean, would you trust something like Solana or Terra, right? Like supposedly they're more advanced, but that's kind of like, unless you know exactly what's going on and you've seen the tech, like you've read the code, you've interfaced with it, it's difficult to make that assessment, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in this whole blow up in the Terra ecosystem, it's not that only the individual investors who had blindly taken up Luna and accumulated Luna lost, their shirt. There are freaking hedge funds, venture capitalists who are supposed to be in the know of how these things work. They lost too. So I think people, many times it's just that they get suckered in by saying, okay, we can pump it up and get out sooner. Feel bad for all those who got into Luna without understanding how the peg is being maintained. Why?
Yeah, I would say a lot of these chains are actually, a lot of these newer chains are actually, I wouldn't say, it's hard to say if they're more or less advanced. I think they're more experimental, right? And Ethereum is certainly less experimental compared to some of these other chains. So it's still experimental. I gotta say, all of DeFi, if you're using DeFi, you have to recognize that it's very experimental, and you can end up losing it all, right? There's no guarantee that any of this stuff will actually stick around for forever, right? But like relatively speaking, Ethereum is the most reliable and kind of stable chain, right?
And
Like
that's
the
one of the things
least
I was asking.
experimental. Yeah.
That's what, I'm seeing these six here,
Yeah.
that are listed. Now, I'm just wondering why they chose these six. Is it just based on number of transaction fees and everybody else is less than Solana? Is it that, just a smattering that they didn't have, for instance, XRP or StoreJ or DOT or Link? I mean, there are, a lot of popular ones. So I was just wondering why this chart selected these six.
I think they're mostly looking at smart contract platforms, and they probably just picked a few examples, right? Like XRP, I mean, anybody who's actually into smart contracts pretty much knows that that's a no-go, right?
Mhm.
What was the other one that you said? StoreJ?
Mm-hmm.
StoreJ isn't really in the smart contract space either, right? It's kind of like a decentralized storage project.
I see. So you're talking about smart contract specific as far as an application goes.
Yeah, they could have picked. I guess they could have included stuff like maybe Near Protocol and maybe like Cardano.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, they could have included. I don't know, like what are some of the other ones? They could have included Terra, but then that would just be a kind of
that would have been like. I mean, they could have included, let's
Cosmos
say,
maybe or something.
EOS or
EOS, Polkadot, Tron, maybe. So
Yeah.
these are all smart contract capable chains, right? But a lot of those other chains are like there's nothing. Like for example, like Polkadot and Tron, there's barely anything, right? So I mean, it wouldn't even like, yeah, there's most transactions are just like junk transactions on those chains, so they probably decided not to include them. But
So
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to take up too much of the time. It just fascinated me, and taking that one step, further, when you're talking about transaction fees and things being able to pay for themselves, how the price of these things is pegged. But Vivek, please keep going.
Yeah. No. So my thinking is, and that's a great question. I thought they probably picked up where they had a decent data around transaction fees available, overall 7-day average. So for example, maybe Cardano or Tron or Near probably have more transactions, but maybe the fee, the total amount of fee may be much lesser than these. That's my thinking. In any case, I mean, it still reinforces the idea that Ethereum is still the king when people really want to build an applications that they think will stay, will have a longevity. Now, everyone who built anything on Terra, that blockchain was just stopped, right? They just stop the blockchain, stop producing blocks, and then they'll restart whenever they want to. Oh, that's utter chaos happening over there.
Yeah.
All right, what else? While Ethereum as a hub, a significant amount of value is being deposited into the bridges. Okay, so bridges basically are how you can bring all your asset from one blockchain to another, because these blockchains don't talk to each other. So if you are holding some Ethereum, which is on Ethereum blockchain, now if you want to do something else on, let's something other blockchain like Avalanche, because Avalanche will give you, and I'm just throwing a number, I have absolutely no idea what Avalanche gives you. Say if you deposit your Ethereum, Avalanche will give you 10%, but so how do you bring it? So these projects have bridges which will allow you to create a synthetic version of Ethereum in Avalanche blockchain. Means the Ethereum that you hold on Ethereum blockchain that gets locked, means you can't access that anymore, you can't sell it anymore, and a new equivalent of Ethereum is created in Avalanche, and this is handled by something called bridges. So it looks like a lot of Ethereum is being deposited into these bridges because a lot of DeFi activity is happening on these bridges. So people are bringing the valuable asset from Ethereum blockchain and getting an equivalent of it in these blockchains, and then use it for your staking, for giving loans, for depositing and earning interest, and do whatever. While that is great, but that also exposes the fact that now you have moved out from Ethereum blockchain, and now you have your asset through the bridge onto a different blockchain. Now, Ethereum being very secure, the other bridges may not be that secure. And we have seen time and again a lot of attacks happening on these bridges. I think Wormhole had the second biggest DeFi attack, some $300 million. Similarly, last year there was another blockchain, the bridge that got attacked for $600 million. Ronin had recently had attack maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, because creation of another piece of code, which will bridge the asset between Ethereum and the other blockchain, exposes more, basically additional attack vector available for hackers. So it's great to see a lot of Ethereum bridges having volume, but that also means a lot of more blast area for the hackers to come and use it. So that's about Ethereum. Looks like now Ethereum continues to attract the most developers by far. There are almost 3,000 developers, but several emerging ecosystems are on similar trajectory. So this helps to understand in terms of which chain will have a longevity. Right? If any of the blockchain, any project just loses developer interest, who's going to build it? Who's going to keep it secure? Who's going to make sure as more and more vulnerabilities are identified in their software stack, there's someone who's there to patch it. There's someone who's there to upgrade it. So Ethereum is by far have the most number of developers, monthly active developers, around 4,000. And it's almost the oldest chain, except Bitcoin has been around for 2,800 days. And Solana has been pretty new and attracted a lot of developers, around 1,000 developers on Solana. But I think this data may be a little bit of, take it with a pinch of salt, because I don't know if this also consider the third-party development teams that these ecosystems work with. For example, Solana might have outsourced some of the development work to some other parties. I don't know if it considers that or not. But yeah, Bitcoin has been around for longest. Next is Ethereum. So that's around layer 1, focus mostly around Ethereum. Layer 2, scaling. Layer 2 is a separate blockchain that extends the base layer and inherits security guarantees. If all this DeFi has to become commonplace on Ethereum, we have to have this. So has spoken and talked about this earlier. Optimistic rollups, there are 2 major projects, Optimism and Arbitrum. ZK rollups, ZSync and the Starknet are the 2. I didn't hear much about Aztec. James, have you guys used Aztec? What's the adoption of Aztec? Because I've heard about
somebody actually, we're actually getting an Aztec bridge built. We're partnering up with Aztec actually. We when we were did the happy hour thing at East Denver, we actually invited the Aztec team. So yeah, it's certainly, so they care more about privacy. So it's more privacy centric. So you can think of it as like DeFi with like tornado support, like by default, almost.
Okay.
Now I don't know, because zero knowledge stuff is the math is fairly difficult to understand. So I like a lot of the, because I personally, I like to, when I say things, I want to make sure like I verify and make sure everything is true. But for the ZK stuff, it's very hard for me to verify anything that I just read online, right? Because I don't understand the math, right? So like I have to take their word for it. Like for example, like if they say, oh, like we just figured out a way to do like zero knowledge proofs without like the trusted setup or something. Well, I can't independently verify that, right? Like how am I supposed to get the PhD paper and like read through the math and figure out like if that actually works? I can't do that, right? That's beyond me.
Yep.
But I can't, like, I try my best. Like a lot of things I can verify. Like if they say, oh, like our smart contract doesn't have like an admin key or something, that's something I can verify. I can independently verify. I can look through the source code and on chain and make sure like it really doesn't have a backdoor or anything fishy, right? Like that I can verify. But the zero knowledge proof stuff is the thing that is one of those things where I just cannot verify. Like, I mean, it sounds good on paper if everything they claim here is true, then yeah, then it's good, right? But I see, anytime I see something that I cannot verify, I always kind of remain cautious, right?
And that makes absolute sense. And I
Right.
understand. I mean, the whole ZK proof has been very complex to implement, and that is why it has taken a few years I mean, the concept was around, but it took a few years to develop it, and also, make sure we have enough computation power to actually do it on the blockchain. So now it's coming into use. So yeah, you're right to say this. They have a privacy guarantee, identity privacy, balance, as well as core privacy. Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully it works. I mean, it really is gonna make it much easier to have some privacy when you're using DeFi, right? Otherwise, everything is kind of wide open. But then again, having privacy also creates other issues like how are you gonna verify a lot of these things if you can't see what they are, right? Like one of the reasons why we can verify a lot of things in DeFi, like liquidity on dexes and things like that, is because everything is open, right? If we start to have privacy, then I don't know how we're gonna be able to deal with those things.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. All right, so okay, good to know. I never heard about Aztec. So yeah, others I've heard about it, what they're doing. So Aztec is again on the ZK knowledge rollups. Interestingly, he hasn't talked about when they come to scaling, they actually consider Polygon as a separate blockchain and not as a side chain of Ethereum. Because as of today, I think Polygon is still the most used solution for scaling on Ethereum. Even though it is not really a layer 2 solution, it is actually a kind of a side chain. But for now, that's still the most widely used.
Yeah, because real cheap. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
Optimistic rollups are the most popular L2, but ZK rollups are just a beginning to come online. Vitalik wants to go over ZK rollup. That's his pet project. So obviously, that's what they want to focus on. L2 rollups pay for Ethereum security, which is true. So ZK Sync, Loopring, Starkware, Optimism, DYDX is again, DYDX is built on top of Starkware, if I recall.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true, right? Yeah, okay. Right. They are competing hard against each other to bring the transaction fee down. Okay. Yeah. Polygon Hermes, yes, that's their layer 2 solution apart from the main Polygon, which is the side chain solution. So a lot of L2 coming up, which will be good from scaling perspective, because one thing which still Ethereum is, it's too expensive, it's too slow. So a lot more work still need to happen. Next, they talk about DeFi. We are almost halfway through to this deck, and 37 minutes into the session. Hopefully, we'll be able to finish it within an hour. A huge part of the world is underserved by existing financial institutions. That's a North Star for whole crypto DeFi. It has grown from nearly 0 to over 100 billion in less than 2 years. Yeah, I had some contribution, not to the tune of millions or tens of thousands, but whatever little I contributed through DeFi on Aave. And yeah, why should I go back to traditional banks? It's so easy to do stuff on the DeFi. So no wonder it has grown a lot. But for my only worry is right now, most of the things that's happening in a DeFi is staking and borrowing. I still want to see a lot more use cases for everyday common people. Newer blockchains are trying to replicate the success of DeFi on Ethereum. This is where we have to be really, really careful. If we are trying to, stake something, deposit something, and want to get some return, some yield generation, which blockchain should we use? Ethereum is mostly used, but then these newer blockchains will give you much higher return. Again, for example, Terra was offering the DeFi platform on Terra was, it started with A, not Avalanche, Anchor,
yeah, 20%, right?
And people were going, falling one over each other to deposit their UST in Anchor because it was offering almost 20%. And I know earlier some person has joined in one of these Thursday meeting, and he joined because he wanted to understand about and try to know a little more about other blockchains, because he told he's all into Luna and Terra. Now I feel bad for that person, and because they were offering like 20%.
Yeah, if you don't know where the yield is coming from, then you are the yield.
No one wants to go back and see how they're able to generate 20%, right?
Yeah, so if you don't know where it's coming from, then you're basically the yield.
So it's like half coming from the newer investors like Ponzi, other half was sponsored by the Terra
VCs, yes.
the foundation, right? The Luna Foundation, right? So, and anyway, all that now went down the drain. So that is why I'm really, really careful in parting away my hard-earned assets. Only one place which I have faith is on anything built on Ethereum. Provides very, things like Aave. You don't get those 20%, but then you get what is reasonable, and I have a little more faith on that. So token exchange. Okay. We just spoke about it. Exchange and lending protocols are the most popular DeFi use cases today, wherein people borrowing volume. You can go and deposit one asset, take out another asset, or if you're holding Ethereum or Bitcoin, you can provide a liquidity or deposit them and just earn interest on it. Those are two mostly common use cases. Proof of stake is coming to Ethereum. I thought it got delayed. It was supposed to happen in June or July. And the code developers on Ethereum are saying it's been pushed out. So probably it'll happen the end of summer, maybe September, October, which will now change it, move Ethereum from being a proof of work consensus to proof of stake consensus. Obviously, it changes the narrative, saying we don't have to boil the ocean and we are not energy intensive. So gets into all the ESG related initiatives. And of course, it'll make not this, but after proof of stake, there are other improvements planned on Ethereum, like sharding, these roll-ups, which will make it much faster. So I'm waiting to see what happened to Ethereum ecosystem after this is implemented and after the sharding is done. And after that, if it still doesn't, we don't see a growth, then I'll have start having my own doubts on Ethereum. But for now, I'll wait. DeFi would represent the 31st largest US bank by total asset under management. That depends on what day you took a screenshot, so won't pay much attention. Next, they talk about stable coins. There are three primary categories of stable coins. Lines are blurry. One is fiat backed, which is fiat currency, cash equivalents, including commercial papers. The other one is a crypto backed, like UST was kind of a little bit of a crypto backed, mostly algorithmic. So there are a currency which, instead of having US dollar or any other fiat currency, they might just have Bitcoin to back it up. I'm not aware of any crypto backed.
So there's MakerDAO, there's Liquidity, and there's MIM. So like Magic
MakerDAO,
Internet,
yes.
the
Okay.
Abracadabra, that's crypto backed. Liquidity is also crypto backed.
So what are they using for their? What crypto are they using for backing it up?
For MakerDAO, it's MakerDAO is kind of hard to say because MakerDAO has 50% USDC. The other 50% is like Ethereum, wrapped Bitcoin, LP tokens, Aave, right? And then Liquidity, I believe, is predominantly Ethereum. Maybe they have expanded. And Abracadabra is mostly shitcoins and Curve LP tokens, which are actually those are actually decent. Those are actually pretty good.
Okay, Curve token. Yeah, I mean, if it is based, if the crypto is backed up based on these lot of these shitcoins, or then I'll consider that has no value, right? It's like one.
Yeah, it's mostly liquidity, right? Because a lot of these shitcoins, liquidity can disappear overnight, and
Exactly.
That's bad.
And finally, there's an algorithmic. We saw the third, at least I'm aware of the third algorithmic coin that blew up, which the latest was UST. Prior to that, there was something they do on iron finance, and there was one more, which I'm aware they all blew up. And now the recent one I heard is Cardano blockchain. They are also coming up with some algorithmic stable coin.
Jed.
Yeah, Jed. I don't. They have their white paper out. I can't make head and tail out of it because it's so mathematically inclined. But I don't know how they're gonna work and how they're gonna make sure it doesn't end up into the same fate as UST had ended.
The only way for algo stablecoins to be viable right now is to not grow that quickly. So if like this is kind of a tricky situation, right? Because a lot of these algo stablecoins have inherent liquidity issues, but they want to grow quickly, right? Because without growth, it's also hard to have that trust, and it's hard to have the kind kind of the market for it. But if you grow too quickly, then currently there isn't really a good way to ensure that there's enough liquidity for everybody to exit, right? Because for crypto backed and fiat backed, assuming that they're actually backed, exiting these like redeeming isn't going to be an issue, right? But with
because you have an assets that are available to redeem.
You have stuff, right? But with algorithmic, there really isn't anything concrete. And as we saw with Luna, after like liquidity started to dry up, and then people stopped bidding on Luna, it just kind of fell like a stone, and that would cause more problems, right? And people just stopped. Like, yeah, the only viable way was to stop people from redeeming altogether, which was halting the chain, right?
Yeah. So that brings me, I think this is a little scary chart, but I think this is a, oh no, I don't have that Luna's chart, looks like. Yeah, it just went to zero from.
Also, capital efficiency is really debatable here, because with crypto backed, the capital that's getting locked up can probably be used for stuff like flash loans and other kind of DeFi innovative stuff, right? So it's fairly efficient. So I don't fully agree with the crypto backed having like the worst capital efficiency. I would say, in a way, fiat backed probably has worse capital efficiency, unless it's not backed.
Yeah,
right? If it's not backed, it's fully efficient, right? If it's not backed at all.
And I'm sure, even though those banks won't admit, but I'm sure that they probably also following whatever the reserve, the fractional banking. So it may not be 100% backed all the time. Right.
Yeah, we would like to think that, I don't know, like being 100% backed may not be really all that efficient, but usually that's how it goes, right? Let's go down to 90 and then 80, and then eventually it's not backed anymore, right? It's like 10%, right? Eventually, so we'll see.
Oh, by the way, this is the chart of Luna in just what, from in a week, it went down the drain to zero. Pretty scary. Okay. And this is the, I don't know if anyone has an inclination to read through this JED's white paper on how they will be, why this stable coin.
This is typical Cardano stuff, right? This is typical Cardano stuff. This is
Cardano stuff, right? They have on whole theorem around the bank runs, on reserve draining attack, how they will be able to, why this will still work out. I have no idea. I can't make head and tail out of it.
I mean, there is a, if you think about it, right, that there is kind of a, like, the Terra thing was kind of interesting, because they were aggressively trying to grow, right, without having a kind of a proper plan for. If you think about it, you have a pool, right, and then you have like an inlet and an outlet, right? Now the inlet, they basically made it as wide as possible, right, as big as possible. Like whatever, if you want to mint, they'll never stop you, right? Like it's like, oh, this is like as much, we'll take in as much liquidity as possible. But the outlet's limited. I think they were limiting it at like 150 million a day. So at most, 150 million a day worth of UST could exit through the official outlet, which was minting Luna and burning the UST. Now, getting that Luna is only half of the battle, right? Then how do you go from Luna to USD? Well, that they typically don't talk about that, right? That's where the liquidity issue can come in. But then again, why didn't they limit the inlet as well? Like, why didn't they limit the amount of capital that would go into the system, right? Like you would think, like, if you don't have a wide enough exit, if you detect like we're running into liquidity issues, maybe stop people from minting, right? Stop growing. But I guess that you can't tell that to Do Kwon, like let's stop growing.
No, you can't tell it. Otherwise, how will they get
Um,
their name into, almost now $60 billion
exactly,
on
right? Like
Terra
they didn't.
DeFi?
Yeah, but I guess with these stable our algorithmic stable coins, I think they have to also balance the. It's kind of a balancing act, right? You have to also control the amount of influx of liquidity, right? So this is kind of a balancing act, and I feel like people typically don't want to limit growth. They'd rather deal with the aftermath. But not growing is typically not an option, right? But I think in order for this stuff to work, we have to put a limit on how quickly it can grow. I think it's like you have to balance the two, right? If the exit starts to widen up with more liquidity, yeah, now let's allow people to mint more, right? But otherwise, we'll have to limit. I mean, all of this stuff can be done with an algorithm, but I guess that's not really the DeFi ethos, because now you're limiting people from using stuff, right? Like it's tricky. This is tricky.
Yeah, so I'm almost lot more cautious around this whole algorithmic based stable coins. So
Yeah.
which at least so far has served me well. Next is increasing use of stablecoin demonstrate the demand for digital dollar, because it is easier to move these around than moving your fiat. So the on-chain velocity, that's the rate of turnover for today's top stable coins, varies drastically. Annual on-chain transaction volume per unit of supply. Okay. Could be because the DAI doesn't have that much supply, but more usage on the maker. That's why when you're looking at per unit of supply, this number is
There's also a lot of flash loans denominated in DAI.
Okay.
And USDC. So yeah, and Tether is just not very popular in the DeFi space overall, right? Like Tether is more popular in the like amongst centralized exchanges like Binance and KuCoin, and most centralized exchanges love Tether, right? For whatever reason, they trust Tether, right? Maybe they have better information than us. Maybe they know. Maybe they're holding some of their executives hostage. I don't know. Like maybe they have more leverage on Tether, or maybe they know that it's backed, right? Like for us, we have absolutely no idea, right? But these exchanges like Binance, they probably have some idea, so they don't seem to have a problem with it. So
Tether.
yeah, so yeah, that's.
So you spoke of KuCoin. Today I read the news. KuCoin got $150 million. They want to create their own blockchain. Because now they want to use their KuCoin as a KCC coin and use that for DeFi and all that stuff. So they're going to create their own KuCoin blockchain. So
that's pretty interesting. I think DeFi and centralized exchanges will eventually merge. I mean, or at least they'll interact quite a bit. Like Celsius, right? Recently just put 30 million into notional, actually. So it's funny because I was like, oh, we got somebody with 30 million worth of liquidity coming in. I was tracing the transaction and it went to one of their custodial wallets. So it was initiated by Celsius, someone internally from Celsius, right? So yeah, so that's what they're doing with their capital. So I think eventually what's going to happen is a lot of these fintech and either traditional or crypto will try to still like get user deposits, and like all the user facing stuff will still look pretty much the same as what we have today, but then what they do on the back end may very well be DeFi, right?
Yeah.
So
cool. But stablecoin represent just a tiny fraction today. So a stablecoin blowing up shouldn't be a big cause of concern to regulators shouldn't make out as a really big deal, as Janet Yellen has done in the recent time after the blow up of UST. Next is NFTs.
Was that 20 trillion? What was that?
US is,
what is
yes,
that
20
number?
trillion
20 trillion?
the money supply from
I see.
out of 20 trillion, we printed what 6 or 7 trillion in the last 2 years. So yeah, NFT is the favorite topic, comes in and out of people's attention. Started with the profile pictures, art and music, gaming, utility, which is access to some special benefits, and then finally the virtual worlds. NFT market remains hot. I actually doubt, because nowadays in the recent times the NFT activity has actually come down. So I was reading some Wall Street Journal reports and coverage around the whole NFT space. The total.
I mean, OpenSea is still #1 on the gas thing. So, I mean, everything else has come down too. So I guess, I mean, relatively speaking, OpenSea is still #1. So.
Yeah, that may be possible, but the total, okay, I think the report was around the dollar amount, and because all things have crashed anyway, so the dollar amount has reached minimum, but the number of transactions, etc., may be still better. I mean, the Jack Dorsey tweet, which was bought for $1 million or $2 million worth of Ethereum, the first tweet, now I think got listed for sale and couldn't fetch more than a couple of $1,000, so he decided not to sell.
Yeah, and NFT is one of those things where I don't understand it either. Like I have trouble understanding what exactly are they seeing when they're looking at this. Yeah, it's difficult.
And if you look at the recent tweet, let me just bring that up. Did you see this? Vitalik Buterin, he had kind of a change of heart. He's now kind of giving a hint that Ethereum should follow Bitcoin. So we will come to a16z, but this is some thread around open contradictions in my thoughts and my values, right? Contradiction between my desire to see Ethereum become more Bitcoin-like system, emphasizing long-term stability, including culturally, my realization that getting there requires a lot of active, coordinated short-term changes. So we are saying that Ethereum is slow as compared to others, and Vitalik like, oh, we got to be even more stable and like Bitcoin-like system. And another one interesting which I saw was around these kind of NFTs is my dislike of many modern financial blockchain applications. 3 million monkeys, I guess, is referring to those ape images. And my grudging appreciation for the fact that stuff is a big part which keeps crypto economy running, which is true, because that's brought in a lot more players into crypto economy who wanted to get those NFTs. So
I feel like it's just the marketing department of crypto right now, right? Like it has a lot of fluff and it attracts a lot of attention, but there's barely any substance, right? It's like any marketing department. Like
so,
it's like
so if you tell, let's say when computers come, if you tell them that you can run a spreadsheet on computers, how many people get attracted to it? Right? Not much. If you can tell them you can play games on computers, yeah, everyone wants to have a piece of that. So that's what NFTs are.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that. I do think I personally I don't get it because I'm less on like I'm not as into entertainment as like maybe some other people, but I do get like if it continues to grow, it'll make the entire crypto ecosystem grow, right? So it's still a good thing for crypto. It's mostly marketing. It's mostly for marketing people, I guess, right?
So I'm good with number 2, number 3, and number 5. So others I'm a little concerned about.
Actually, they're missing the some of the financial stuff, like using NFTs to represent bonds and
bonds,
liquidity pools, and
mortgages, deed.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
those
utility,
are
I
those are
guess.
the real
That's
world use
utility.
cases.
Well, I mean, even on chain, you can use NFTs to represent fixed income
Yeah,
instruments, right? And I guess that falls into utility. I guess I'm not
or
sure what they
maybe
mean by.
yeah.
Are they
Ah,
just talking about coupons and memberships and
I
yeah?
thought this is more about membership to a specific club, so you flash your NFT as your membership card. Estimated creator revenue by source: NFTs 3.9 billion, 174K per creator, whereas on Spotify, pittance. Except the top 5 or 6 creators on Spotify or on YouTube, people make very less money. I think that's true. So yeah, I think instead of NFTs, if it is no, I guess it makes sense, because for songs or movies or whatever you want to do, it's more equitable ecosystem. There is incredible innovation happening in the NFT space. Okay, do South by Southwest. Now, next is the gaming. We are just about beginning to see the potential of Web3 gaming. You got a scholarship, group ownership. Okay, this is mostly coming, I think, a lot of stuff coming from Axie Infinity, where they also have scholarships for rich guys to train and offer scholarships for not so fortunate people to learn and play on their behalf. It's like a factory of workers playing games for a master. The video game industry has seen massive growth driven by the layering of new platforms and business model. This is something which I haven't seen more on. Oh, sorry, video game. Yeah, games are fine. I thought it was referring to the video streaming videos. That's where I'm not seeing a huge market opportunity at Web3 and gaming. This I completely agree, because the gaming itself in Web2 is growing like crazy, and add the whole concept of Web3, metaverse, NFTs, using NFTs as your, as a skin, or as a car if you're in a car race, or as a weapon if you're in Call of Duty or things like that. That intersection is very, very interesting, and I am a lot more bullish about this. Interest in metaverse has exploded, with land sales totaling near 2 billion. Make half sense for me, but I was surprised to see this other side. I never heard of this before.
This is the Bored Ape thing. So I think if you had ApeCoin or something, you would be entitled to bid on that.
This is Bored Ape. This is from
Yeah,
Yuga.
this created by the Bored Ape, the company behind Bored Ape. But I feel like it's potentially. I do think that that one of these projects will probably succeed, because if they get enough hype around it, and then enough developers to actually go and turn it into a game that's playable. Like right now, I think with NFTs, right? Like marketing definitely precedes substance right now. Like they've advertised all of this stuff, right? Like if you have this NFT, you have this land, and it's gonna be like you're gonna own a piece of this great game, right? But we don't have this game yet, right?
Oh,
That's still
so
a dream.
this is a metaverse game, and this on Saturday when it's done pretty recently.
Right.
Will sell NFTs for its others in metaverse game. Oh, okay. So basically, they marketed a
Yeah.
game which will play in metaverse, but
Right.
for you to get a place in that metaverse. So you can play that game. You have to buy this other side coin,
Exactly.
which represent your interest or that deed.
See, that's
Oh,
the thing, right? You don't even know what the game is going to look like, and you're already making an investment. So yeah, I agree. Like there's like
oh,
Sandbox, for example. Like the game is very Minecraft esque. I don't play Minecraft, so I don't know like if that
yeah, but
game
I
is
don't
gonna
think so.
take off or
Stuff
not.
like Sandbox and Decentraland are kind of a marketing, a lot of a gaming related stuff. They are kind of marketing, hey, we're building a metaverse. There could be games, there could be other activities happening in here. And hence, some of the corporates are also going and bought spaces in a virtual land to create their own stores in these metaverse. So but looks like the other side is mostly focused on game stuff. Again, I don't know. I just looked at this because it
Well,
says
other
other side
side,
metaverse game.
I have no idea what they're gonna do because there is very little information on the actual product. I mean, their NFTs are selling hot on OpenSea, right? But
Yeah.
there's very little information on, like, at least Sandbox. There's some like gameplay like videos and stuff. But
Oh,
for other side, I don't see anything.
okay. So this may be the next of that Luna and Terra is almost 741 million. Gosh, okay. We want to keep an eye on this. On this again might blow up. Uh, based on right now looks like just a hype. One next is talks about DAOs, providing a path toward community governance for any kind of organization. I think this is again we are probably putting too much faith on DAO, on how DAO will function, how it will work. Whether DAO means completely decentralized, it's kind of an anarchic system, or we'll still have a DAO, but then you still have a regular corporate hierarchy system. I really don't know how it's going to work.
There's gonna be so much corruption
Yeah, because if it
in
is only
DAOs.
based
Oh my
on
god.
you know whoever owns the token, someone owning more token doesn't mean that they probably have the best interest or know has the best knowledge around where to take the ecosystem. So I'm lot more skeptical still around how this whole governance piece will work in DAOs. I have no
Well,
idea.
the thing is, people typically think this is really uh this is really like it's probably what people um like think about when they think about like some kind of like like uh like a democratic kind of system, right? Where everybody gets to vote on things. But with this with DAOs, unless you have specialized knowledge on some of these things, it's not really that easy for you to vote on some of these proposals, right? It's kind of like proxy voting. Um, like, have you ever like, do you actually read through a lot of those proposals from these publicly
Yeah, half
traded
of this time we
companies?
just ignore it, right? It's only
Yeah.
if you're
Do you
interested, then I'll
do
go
you
and
know?
open it up and see what they're even talking about.
Yeah, and these DAO protocols are a lot more complex sometimes. The proposals are actually very mathematical and technical, right? So it's very, I don't know like how the community will be able to govern. I mean, it's gonna be pretty bad, right? It's gonna turn to shit if like if we let the community manage a lot of these DeFi
Yeah,
protocols.
yeah.
Um,
Ah,
yeah.
I know for this whole after this whole Terra stuff blew out, they put up a proposal to what to do with this Terra blockchain, how they're going to maintain it. I'm like, how will any common person understand? So eventually, it'll be Do Kwon and a big of the validators who's going to make a
Yeah.
decision anyway.
Yeah. Like and also like I'm seeing a lot of DAOs are really just, I guess a lot of these insiders basically just taking money from the treasury for themselves.
Oh,
right? Like,
okay.
if you think about it, like if we controlled, like if Notional had it down, and then like if everybody can, like all the, like assuming that like the top people had like a lot of tokens, or any other DeFi protocol, then how would you, like, sometimes you can just make a proposal and say, hey, we need $2 million. Like Ribbon Finance, for example, recently said, oh, we need $2 million to do DeFi research. Like, what does that even mean? Like,
Yeah, it's
right?
like
Like
lawmakers,
what?
lawmakers, passing a bill saying, okay, all the
We need
lawmakers'
a
salary should be
committee.
increased
Yeah, yeah,
by
yeah.
50%.
It's like Congress saying we need like $10 million to form a committee to study this thing. Like what is the, like, where are you gonna what you're gonna get out of that by spending $10 million, right? There's nothing concrete that will come out of that. You
Yeah,
just
so
know, right?
I'm a little skeptical because again, these things are, have been called as a panacea for all the ailments of a centralized corporate structure, which I doubt is true. So we'll have to see how DAOs perform. Large majority of value held by DAOs is a form of protocol native governance token. So I won't pay too much attention or to this $10 billion, because this $10 billion could just become $2 billion if there is a run on or any of these protocols fail, because everything is held in the native governance protocol and not really USD or anything like that. Enable a new bottom-up way for groups to make decisions. Kind of half like it. There are some decisions which I think as a person I can understand, but some will be completely out of my realm of understanding. All right, the closing. Okay, now the closing thought: crypto is already making a real world impact. I know about helium. We have discussed helium and talked about it. Know about this sound, at least wherein on helium, anyone can get their helium hardware and help in creating Wi-Fi networks. And it's still early days for Web3. This I completely agree. Whenever someone asks me, what's your thought on crypto? I'm like, it's just not for me. This is for the next generation. I don't think I'll get to enjoy the real benefits of Web3. It is at least 20, 30 years away. So,
oh yeah, yeah. It's quite a ways away, I think.
Yeah.
Like, just, yeah, it's to even get into that mindset. I don't feel like we're there yet. So
Exactly. And next focus, infrastructure will continue to improve with L1 and L2s. They're talking mostly around Ethereum. Expect many more creators to embrace NFT in their own communities, like maybe more musicians and artists. Web3 games to launch by developers, developed by founders with the background of top game studios. That'll be great. New Web3 users who earn tokens through games and NFTs will likely choose to save those tokens in DeFi protocols. Little skeptical. Expect many more experiments with DAOs, social token, decentralized token. Yeah, this could also be a slippery slope based on how much it's hype and how much is actually real substance. 4 or 5, little cautious. 1, 2, 3, all for it. Then there's the disclosures. All right. We made it to the end. It took us 15 minutes more than our scheduled 1 hour, but this is my long read, knowledge such hour that I spent. And Morrison, you were able to join and help me understand it in much better way. So thank you. Yeah, this is, I love to spend at least minimum an hour every day to read about something new, whether it's on the crypto or whether it's on the traditional stock market. So for today, this was a state of crypto. Was my agenda.
cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's all I had.
All right. Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing this stuff.
If you want, I mean, this is available. You can just Google it if you need to have a copy of it. It's not behind paywall or anything.
Mhm.
You can just Google Andreessen Horowitz State of Crypto, and for later reference if you want to have it.
Cool. All right.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool.
I'll see you guys next time.
Sure. Morris, I'll see you on Saturday.